All right. So when we are bringing out such reports, I think it's always good to come up with the other one. We have core inflation, we have headline inflation, and we have food inflation. So looking at this, our results at this point in time from NBS is a mixed result that shows that inflation is at 15.43, while the food inflation is over 20%. That makes it a mixed result, and that simply means that there is continuous inflation but at a lower rate, and that's why you see that the headline inflation is coming down while the food inflation is actually going up. So it's not a result that we should be celebrating that inflation actually came down as expected. So our government needs to do more. That simply means that the purchasing power is poor, the disposable income is poor. We have a lot of issues surrounding agriculture, in terms of food production. We have issue concerning energy costs, transport costs, and issue of insecurity and access to farm.
Now, is if inflation is falling, now why are many Nigerians still complaining that food prices are high?
Right. Even from the figure of the NBS, food inflation is actually increasing. Food inflation is over 20% now in this latest result, while the headline inflation is actually down. So I think because, a layman will be looking at the inflation figure, which is headline, but for an economist and people that are much more informed about inflation, we'll be looking at other inflation, such as food inflation and core inflation. That actually shows the status of the economy. So as it is now, it's a mixed result. It's not a result to actually celebrate.
Does the decline in the inflation rate mean that prices are falling, or simply that prices are increasing at a slower rate?
Right. So the decline in inflation does not reflect that there is a price falling. It simply means that there is continuous increment in the price of food, even like people have actually mentioned, but at a lower rate. So it's not that something that moves rapidly. So it's at a lower rate. That's why it's not reflecting at that rate. And looking at the major causes, we can also look at external shock as well. But the major thing is farm produce that are supposed to be out. We are supposed to do around season farming. We're supposed to support farmers through different incentives. Recall we used to have Anchor Borrow among others. So those are the things we must start doing urgently.
What extent are fuel prices and transportation costs contributing to the high cost of food and other commodities?
Right. So if you look at our major problem is external shocks. The external shocks are affected price of PMS and other oil and gas commodity, and because of that, it pushes the cost of transportation. Remember, our supply chain, produce are produced in the local area and have to be transported to the city. And if you look at it also, the inflation in the urban is different from in the rural. In the rural is about 13%, while in the urban is about 16 to 17%. That shows that yes, they could be producing, but the cost of transportation must have crept into the cost that consumer actually be buying it in the market. And that's why our food, our transport, energy cost is the major thing that government must look out to bring about solution to urgently.
So just before I let you go, I want you to answer this question honestly. Can Nigeria genuinely achieve lower inflation without addressing the country's high transportation, energy, and production costs?
It is actually not possible because those are legacy problems that we must look at, and we must also add insecurity, security, because no matter how you are able to do other things, if there is insecurity, there is no access to farm. To be pretty difficult. So the challenge of energy cost, challenge of transportation, challenge of security is what we must actually look at, not only at the federal level, at subnational as well.
Thank you very much for your insight. I've been speaking with an economist, Aliyu Ilyas. Do have a good evening.
Thank you.